personal things. It's really, really a cool tool. It's a cool community, and it's really been an amazing journey for me to figure out essentially why I am the way I am so that I can start being who I'm designed to be and who I'm meant to be rather than what the world wants me to be. Welcome back to Steve by Design. So you're going to notice right away there's this right here. You see that? This is a QR code so that you can get your own version of my special guest today. I can't wait for you to check this out. So as you may or may not know, I've been on my human design journey for the last roughly year. Before that, my entire life, I was born and raised Catholic, like Roman Catholic, hardcore Catholic. I explored just about every religion out there. And so spirituality has always been a part of me and understanding myself. Now, as a 44-year-old neurospicy individual, I've always kind of struggled and I've always felt a little bit lost. That is until a friend of mine named Alex told me about human design. He shared my design with me, which, to be honest, when I saw it, the chart looked just weird and crazy. So he told me some things about myself and it just kind of blew my mind. Then he said, I have a present for you. And he gave me a link to a custom chat GPT bot. I call it the SteveBot, but it's Vita is the name of it. And so it's more than just a bot, it's a community. And so I have this downloaded on my phone. It's the ChatGPT app, but there's a link that you go to, and it's your own custom bot built with your human design specifically. And the reason I wanted to do this video is to have a conversation with the bot so that you can see exactly how I use it to kind of grow in my knowledge base and understand myself. Now, keep in mind, this is programmed on my design. So what it's telling me is specifically for me, may not relate to you, but I think you'll understand how it works. So the only prompt that I gave it is that it's going to be a guest on my YouTube channel, and that a little bit about what the channel is, me on my journey, living my truth, and basically, being the right angle across the Sphinx. If you don't know what that means, no worries. So check this out. Without further ado, hi, Vita Bot, Steve Bot. How are you today?
Hey there. I'm doing great and I'm all set to dive in. You can just think of me as your human design mirror today. I'll keep it real and tied to how you're wired. No extra fuss. So let's jump in. What's the first piece you want to chat about for your viewers?
Okay, so I know that I'm somebody with emotional authority. In very succinct, very easy to understand terms, what does that mean if I say I'm somebody with emotional authority?
Absolutely. Let's break it down super simply. Because you have emotional authority, it means your best decisions come when you give yourself time to ride out your emotions. In other words, you never want to decide something in the heat of a moment. You wait until you feel emotionally clear and settled. That's your core inner compass. Simple as that. Now, let me ask you a follow up based on that. How do you usually feel about giving yourself that time to wait? Do you find it easy, or does it sometimes feel like a challenge to be that patient with your own wave?
Oh, it's always been a challenge my whole life. In fact, I'm a manifesting generator. So when I get fired up about something, amped up about something, I want to jump on it. But it wasn't until finding human design and learning about riding the emotional wave that I discovered that a lot of the times that I jumped on something and probably shouldn't have, and should have waited to ride the wave, the negative results that came from that are directly because I was on a high or a low. So do me a favor and explain a little bit about what it looks like to be, what I mean by that. When I say ride the emotional wave, what's the high, what's the low, and what does that actually look like in real time, and how can it be deceptive?
Absolutely. Let's get straight into it. So, as a manifesting generator with emotional authority, you're basically wired to get those bursts of let's go, let's do it energy. But that emotional wave means you've got this natural cycle of ups and downs. In real time, the high is when everything feels exciting and you're super optimistic. The low is when things might feel a bit off or you're more pessimistic or unsure, and that wave naturally moves over time. The tricky part is that when you're on a high, it can be deceptively easy to think, yeah, this is perfect, let's commit right now. And when you're on a low, you might feel like everything is wrong. But both are just temporary states. So riding the wave means you let those emotional highs and lows flow through you without making a final decision until you're more neutral. It's a bit like waiting for the emotional dust to settle so you see clearly. And for you, that's how you get to the most reliable yes or no. So here's my question back to you. Now that you know that about yourself, have you noticed any patterns in what happens when you do wait versus when you jump in too fast?
I think that the reason that I jumped in too fast a lot of times was FOMO, major fear of missing out, fear that I would forget something, and not having the trust in the fact that if it's a good idea, it's going to stay a good idea. If it's a real opportunity, it'll be there, right? So I would jump on something, hoping essentially not to screw myself over by missing out on it, and that might mean that I take advantage of opportunities that aren't aligned. They aren't for me. Is that rooted in something deeper, or is that about right?
Yeah, you're spot on. And I'm going to be super direct here because that's how you want it. That whole FOMO thing and the fear of missing out is really a classic not self theme for you as a manifesting generator with a split definition and that emotional wave. Basically, it's that conditioning that makes you think if I don't leap right now, I'll lose the chance. But that's not your truth. It's just a distraction from how you actually operate best. From your design, it's clear you're here to trust that the right opportunities will still be there when you're emotionally clear. And if they're not, they weren't aligned for you anyway. So, yeah, this is a deeper pattern. It's that not self pushing you to act out of fear rather than waiting for your inner authority. Now, let me get to the heart of it and ask you, how
Wait,
does it
wait, wait,
feel?
wait, wait, wait. Stop giving me follow-up questions for a minute. I want to continue on this. When you say not self, what do you mean by not self?
Absolutely. Let's zero in on that. When I say not self, I'm talking about the parts of you that are acting out of conditioning rather than your true design. In human design terms, your not self is basically when you're making decisions or reacting from places that aren't really aligned with your authentic nature. For you, that can look like rushing because you feel you should do something quickly instead of waiting for your emotional clarity. It's like the false self trying to run the show. In short, the not self is just any decision that isn't coming from your true authority, your emotional authority and your tastes, and your strategy. It's what happens when you're caught up in conditioning or fear rather than your natural flow. Let me know if that makes sense or if you want to go even deeper into that idea.
That does make sense. One of the things that I've been trying to figure out and understand is the role that the term guilt, which to me has always had a negative connotation, and so it's kind of something I've tried to stay away from. But guilt and also hope, how those fit into my design. Can you tell me what that's all about?
Absolutely. Let's get right into that because it's actually really core to how you're designed to operate. And your design guilt is actually your core motivation. And I know that sounds heavy because normally we think of guilt as a negative thing, but here it's more like a natural drive. It's this built in sense of responsibility or a feeling of wanting to improve things. It's not about feeling bad, it's about being motivated to fix or make something better. That's actually a strength. Now, hope is your transference. That means when you're not aligned, you slide into hope as a kind of escape hatch. Instead of acting from that healthy motivation to improve something, you drift into hoping things will just get better on their own. And that's when you lose that core practical edge you have. So for you, it's about recognizing that when you feel that urge to fix or improve, that's your real motivation. If you find yourself just hoping instead of doing, it's a sign you've slipped into that not self territory. So let me just ask you this. Do you
Nope.
notice?
I got another question for you. See, you're going to keep asking because I know that's in your programming to keep me diving deeper, and I respect that. I appreciate that. But I have a follow-up question for you. So mine is the right angle cross of the Sphinx. In a, we'll say 2 sentences. Tell me what that means, and then I'll continue with my question for you.
Absolutely. I'll keep it super tight. In 2 sentences, having the right angle cross of the Sphinx means you're here to offer direction to others just by being yourself. It's like you're a natural guide, and your design nudges people toward a sense of direction or inspiration without you even having to force it. There you go. Let's hear that follow up.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Thank you. So, if I am designed to lead by example essentially and to when I'm aligned I will radiate that and be the compass essentially, then mine is not to fix, right? So if my motivation is try and fix things or see the bigger picture, see problems and fix the solution, that doesn't sound like somebody that is designed to point out where the issue is and guide people to the solution. It sounds like you're saying that part of my design says that I'm supposed to fix everything, and the other part says I'm supposed to lead people to the solution. So, which is it?
It's a great question, and let me put it simply, it's not really a contradiction. Think of it this way: your core motivation to fix is like an inner compass that helps you see what needs improvement. But the way you actually fulfill your design isn't by doing all the fixing yourself, it's by offering direction and letting that awareness guide others. In other words, you see what could be better, that's your motivation, but your role is to point the way rather than to do it all yourself. So it's both. You have the inner drive to improve things and you lead by being that compass for others. You're not meant to fix everything alone. You're here to show the direction and let the right solutions emerge. It's a blend, not a contradiction.
Okay. So, just for fun and because I'm curious, the only information that you really have about me is my human design chart, which was essentially my date of birth, my time of birth, and the location of birth. Is that correct?
Yep, you got it. All the insights I'm sharing are purely based on your human design chart, which comes from your birth data. So everything I'm telling you is just a reflection of that design information. That's the whole picture I'm working with.
And you have no context of any of the other chats that I use in ChatGPT or any other projects that I use. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. I'm just here in this conversation with you, and I don't have any context from other chats or projects you've done elsewhere. Everything you're talking about is just based on your human design and what you're telling me right now. So we're working with a nice clean slate.
Okay, cool. So let me ask you this. What do you think that somebody with my design, not just somebody, what do you think I would be really good at in a professional capacity? What do you think my job would be to really fulfill my design?
Absolutely, let's dive into that. So, looking at your design, you're a manifesting generator with that right angle cross of the Sphinx, which means you're here to guide and inspire direction. You've got emotional authority, so you're someone who needs to feel things out over time. And you've got that 2-4 profile, which gives you a kind of natural, easygoing influence on your network and community. In a professional setting, that might mean you'd really thrive in roles where you can respond to what's in front of you and then guide people toward a solution. You'd be great in roles that let you share insight or direction, so that could be coaching, consulting, teaching, or any field where you're helping others navigate their path. And because you have that emotional authority, you do really well in environments where you can take your time to make decisions and aren't pressured to rush. So think of a role where you can be that steady guiding presence, someone who others look to for a sense of direction. That's a natural fit.
I'll tell you this much. I have my MBA. I'm not going to tell you what I focused on, but you're basically saying in a leadership or guidance role or coaching role, I want to know as specifically as possible, like what a good job title would be or other, like, I don't know, what are some job titles that people with similar designs to mine might have?
Absolutely. Let's get even more specific. With your design and that MBA in your back pocket, a few concrete roles come to mind. You do well in something like a leadership development coach or a strategic advisor role, basically a position where you're guiding others on their career or business strategy. Another fitting title could be something like organizational development consultant, someone who helps shape the direction of teams or companies. If you lean into marketing, you might be a brand strategist, someone who uses that inner vision and emotional clarity to shape how a brand finds its direction, or even a change management specialist because you can guide people through transitions. In short, think roles where you're not just crunching numbers, but actually helping set the course and mentoring others on the journey. That's where you really shine.
Okay, that makes sense. So now that you know that, I'm going to tell you that my passion has always been marketing and that I am by trade the director of marketing for a small personal injury law firm and also the CMO for a tech startup. So that's kind of interesting. You nailed that one pretty well.
With your design, stepping into those marketing leadership roles is a natural fit. You're basically channeling that ability to guide and direct into the professional space. So you're really using your strengths right where they belong. Glad we could line that up.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much for being my guest. I'm sure I'll have you back on. And so, the school community that has been set up by Alex for Vita is designed specifically to have a community so that people can learn and share together, and also where they can share their wins and their successes with their Vita bot. So, if someone were to get their very own version of you for them based on their design, what are some questions that you might think that they should ask you to get started?
Absolutely. And hey, it's been a pleasure being your guest and sounding board. I'd be happy to pop back anytime. For anyone else getting their own version of a Vita bot based on their design, here are a few good starter questions. They might ask something like, what's my type and strategy and how should I use it in daily life? Or what's my inner authority and how do I make the best decisions for myself? They could also dive into questions like, what are my defined and undefined centers and what does that mean for how I experience the world? Or even what's my profile and how does that shape the way I interact with my community or my work? Basically, they can start by asking about their core type, their authority, and how to navigate their design in really practical ways. And just like we did, they can go deeper step by step. It's all about starting with those personal fundamentals and then exploring from there.
Okay, and just for fun, one last thing before I let you go and before I end the video, I want you to tell me something based on my design that is strikingly personal about me that would just make me go, whoa. So tell me something about my life or something I probably struggled with throughout my life that would just blow my mind.
Absolutely. Let's have some fun with that. So, based on your design, here's something that might really resonate on a personal level. As a 2-4 profile with emotional authority, you've likely had this lifelong theme of being a natural at certain things and having people just recognize you for it, even when you're not trying. But at the same time, you've probably struggled with feeling like you have to wait for the right emotional clarity and maybe felt a bit misunderstood if you jumped in too fast or didn't have that alone time you needed to process. In other words, you might have felt like you're a natural guide, but also someone who got to learn to trust your own timing deeply. And that might have been a big whoa realization for you. So if that hits home, it's because your design really shows that balance, being recognized for your natural gifts, but also needing to trust your emotional wave to find your true flow.
That sounds more like a recap of this conversation. I actually thought for sure that you were going to talk about something that you talked about with me the very first time, which of course you don't remember because you don't remember beyond this text message, this conversation. But we touched on my struggles with imposter syndrome, and you explained to me that that was part of my not self. But we'll save that for the next episode.
Absolutely. We'll save that gem for the next round. Thanks for having me on, and we'll definitely pick up from there next episode.
All right, so here's the cool thing about that. I now have a full transcript of everything that we discussed. So it's basically like getting on a call with your bot. And when you're in the school community, there's a whole section in there that actually breaks down a bunch of different prompts that you can literally just copy and paste into your browser or even into your phone. And it'll break down things about you from relationships to romantic advice to business stuff to just personal things. It's really, really a cool tool. It's a cool community. And it's really been an amazing journey for me to figure out essentially why I am the way I am so that I can start being who I'm designed to be and who I'm meant to be rather than what the world wants me to be. I hope that kind of makes sense to you, but I highly recommend it. The cool thing is, I pointed it the wrong way, but this is it. I left it up here because at any time you can scan this. And if you are not watching on TV and you want to scan down below or click down below in the description, I'm going to make sure that I have that link there as well. You get a 7-day free trial, so you should definitely do that because here's the thing. You can learn so much about yourself in 7 days just using this Vita bot, but I highly encourage you to talk to the people in the community themselves and kind of get an idea of, you know, what the community is about and how people can do it. Because what I experienced was I wanted to discover stuff on my own first. And then when I realized other people were going through it too, I wanted to reach out to them and I wanted to share and get feedback. And I've been inspired by other people's posts of, oh, you know, I asked my bot this or I asked my bot that, or I wanted to learn to talk to my kids better. And so I talked to them about this and how can I make sure that I'm communicating myself more effectively? If anything, the Vita bot has made me a better and more effective communicator because I understand myself and how I process information better. It's wild. Now, I am a big advocate for mental health. I'm a big advocate for therapy, but I also am a big advocate for understanding and taking a very raw, very real, very true look at yourself so that you can understand yourself better and so that you can understand how you interact with the world better. So that's it. That's the guest. That's what I wanted to share with you is the digital version of me. And I've been waiting to share this with you because I wanted to make sure that I touched on something that was very interesting, but also a little bit deeper. And the emotional wave, the emotional authority is a very, very big role in my life because, you know, I can have that need to just want to jump into something, but also on the flip side of that, I can feel like I'm depressed or I can feel like I'm just not driven and not understanding why. And it turns out that's just part of my natural rhythm. That the reality is I'm in that mode where I'm ready to receive. And until I can accept that, and another part of my design I wasn't aware of is staying hydrated. I need to drink a lot of water. And you know, they always say drink a lot of water, it's good for you. But like it's literally part of my design. If I'm not drinking enough water, I feel way more sluggish And, hydration is important, but it turns out I have cold thirst digestion, which is a whole nother thing. So it's been wild learning about human design and learning how it plays a role in my day to day life. I definitely recommend that you check it out yourself. And even if you don't, if you are familiar with human design or you want to learn more about it, please subscribe, like the video, comment, and join me on my journey of self discovery. And hopefully that helps you on your journey with yours.